Hello, welcome to N3RD4IA, where we boldly go where no nerd has gone before. Or where many nerds have gone before in different ways. Where I want to start off is mentioning the fact that the Voyager 1, a week or so ago, officially left our solar system for parts unknown, exploring the even bigger galaxy outside. And that's very exciting. But for this episode of N3RD4IA, we're going where everyone has gone before. Remakes, retreads, reboots, what have you. And just why they're important, why they're sometimes unnecessary, yet while they're always going to be a part of our culture. Because, I mean, from the dawn of time, we have been reinventing ourselves. We've been telling stories. We've been learning more and more and more about stuff. And then sometimes having to backtrack and be like, I've lost myself in this. Where am I in this whole plot, this universal whatever? Starting with the oral tradition, wherein anyone who heard the story was trying to remember it would retell it to someone else. They'd put their own twist on it. Or they'd remember things differently. Or they'd put their sympathies for certain characters, or ignore parts that didn't resonate with them or weren't meaningful to them, and thereby causing many different stories and many different variations. I mean, we're all different people. We all react to things different ways. Sometimes we need to put a fresh spin, a new director, a new leading man, a new actor, what have you. Or just bringing back a series that shouldn't have ended in the first place, like, say, the recent return of Arrested Development on Netflix. And the biggest reason I bring that up is because I've become obsessed, and I watched the first 3 original seasons back to back to back for the entire last week. Great, funny stuff. But anyway, reboots, we get Star Trek, J.J. Abrams, Chris Pine, Zach Quinto, whoever else, Carl Urban. Amazing stuff going on. Was it necessary? Maybe not. Was it really cool? Yes. Did they reboot it in such a way that it detracted from the original? No. The whole time travel thing in the first movie kind of set the scene and furthermore justified the existence of this reboot in a much better way, whether or not the time travel stuff is the most believable usage of a plot device. But the best usage of that as a plot device in order to make a brand new world. And then the fact that they're talking about the new Star Wars movie as more of a reboot than a continuation, even though it is for sure a continuation. But probably new visual style, new something. Old characters, new stuff happening. Then Doctor Who, which is not really a remake, because when they finally brought it back for the 9th Doctor as a series instead of the failed Doctor Who the movie from 1996 starring the 8th Doctor in his only TV appearance, which is sad because he's amazing. But when they brought it back, they basically said it was a continuation of the previous season before they canceled themselves. Nearly 20 years before that. And that's kind of amazing. Sorry, T. T is great. T is great. And there's all the superhero movies. It's like Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. Did we need to remake those first 3 Spider-Man movies? Well, since I think it's part of Marvel's bigger plan in connection with Avengers and everything else they've been doing, we'll see. But then there's Wolverine, which is not a reboot. It's a continuation from the 3rd X-Men movie, which was awful, in my mind. And apparently they're going to rewrite that continuum with the next movie, Days of Future Past, which does some kind of timey-wimey time travel stuff. So I'm curious about that. Carrie is getting a remake, and I'm hoping they do more than go further with some of the plot ideas in Carrie, simply because we see the entirety of the original film in the trailer for the new film. So it makes me wonder if the prom is only like the halfway point of the movie and a lot more stuff happens, or she gets more in control of her powers, or what. I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw the original. But then they're remaking RoboCop, which everyone's up in arms about, but I never remembered RoboCop really being a big deal, ever. No offense. There's movies like Prometheus, which didn't necessarily reboot the Alien franchise, but brought new life to it, and is exploring a different aspect of it instead of the let's fight to survive bit. Which is cool, because I liked the fight to survive bit in the first Alien movie, but then as the series progresses, it's like, okay, I get it. First movie's really where it's at. Or the fact that they're redoing video games series and restarting them with new looks and whatever on next generation consoles and whatever. That makes sense. But it also doesn't make sense because it's a video game. It should just be the next game in a series or something, right? And I mean, comic books have been doing this forever. So when someone says that the Avengers continuum in the movie is different than that in the comic book, do you know how many different timelines and role reversals and different territory that the comic books retread again and again? There's no original story to base this off of. I mean, there is. There's the first time it ever happened, but there's a great deal of material to choose from. And I think it's great. And I think it's great that everyone reacts to these things differently, and the fact that the Total Recall remake resonated with me a lot more than the original film, which was also awesome. But as far as remakes go, it was based more on the original story than the first movie was. So that's also important to take note of when things are based off of literature. I like how we reboot for things that, like Star Trek, that like predicted like technologies like cell phones and things that predicted the internet, or 1984 predicting television, which the military already had at that point. But how much did George Orwell know about that? I don't know. But there's just so much cool stuff going on, and it's only makes sense to reboot things. It's like, okay, well, this happens 300 years in the future, but now we already have all the technology they have in this. Okay, let's take this from a new angle and figure out what we can do to make this futuristic, like, past the technology standpoint. What else can we do? And I just can't help but think that awesome things are about to happen on the horizon. And the fact that shows like Sleepy Hollow and things aren't necessarily remakes, they're based off original source material, correct, but so loosely based off the original source material that become their own thing. And they're trying their bestest to become their own thing. And that's really cool. But I'm signing out now. Hope that was a nice discussion for you. What would you like to see remade, or redone, or rebooted, or recast? Leave it in the comments.